What I like about the way you put things is it doesn't have this taboo of being a person, or being something. You're more embracing of whatever you're being.
I'm still here, I'm just as real as you are, just as real as tomorrow, just as real as love, just as real as enlightenment. I am an imaginary self. I'm not a non-self. So yeah, I'm here, yeah, the fabric of the thought dream that spins and erases itself is magnificent. It's beautiful. Without imaginary separation, it's like a pure tone without separate notes, without overtones and undertones. There's no music. So it is the imaginary separation which brings beauty, which brings music, which brings love to our world. The realization that there are no selves, no others, no separate things or events. It brings a delicious spaciousness and feeling of unknowing and wonder. And yet it is the dream as well. It's not an escape from the dream. Enlightenment is the dream. It just feels like love. So in love, as love, through love, life flows. But it's not really moving or non-moving. But that's the dance of life seems to appear like by itself. Like right now, all the trees are naked and the tiny, tiny branches are reaching out into the sky, and where the other trees meet, there's this beautiful dance. It doesn't have any meaning or non-meaning. It's just this beautiful dance of sky and trees, clouds, mountains. I use the example often, like it's like life kisses itself through your lips. Because there is no universe without you. Until named, there is no universe. It's like you're an imaginary membrane between an imaginary inside and outside. Like a skin of a drum vibrating, a prism taking pure light and creating colors beautifully, painting the universe, uniquely your universe. Yeah. So many analogies can be used, and we all have different ones, I'm sure. Whatever seems to resonate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely playing with these words and concepts with you. It's almost like, here's a bit of flattery that is very sincere, Nancy. I feel like you're like the Jimi Hendrix of this space. I feel like you just go on these beautiful incendiary guitar solos into outer space and back. One thing that you point out, that I guess you were saying something like, where does one emotion end and the other begin? What is fear without naming it, or love without naming it, compared to other emotions?
It just doesn't feel like there's separate emotions, or that there's someone separate feeling them. And that it's the name which seems to solidify this fluid, liquid landscape of this sensorial display. 6 months before the shift, joy and sorrow merged, and I really couldn't tell the difference. It was pretty astounding. So it's not saying that there is no feeling. It's just that there are no more ideas that some feelings are better than others, or that there are separate feelings. In the story, I'll say, oh, the bear came and ran, and I ran, and I was afraid or something, but the whole idea of there being separate things that are grabbed out of this is just made up, and it starts to sound like a foreign language. Someone says, how are you? Well, I have no idea. There's no one here to be feeling any certain thing. Of course, I'll answer in a very nice way, but yeah, I think the idea that some feelings are better than others, or some thoughts are better than others, that when that all left, everything kind of merged, not into a blankness, however, but into a inescapable, obvious, unknowable aliveness. Yeah.
I feel I feel what you're saying.
Yeah. I know you do. Well, everyone knows that life is magical deep down somewhere. They know it, they feel it. And somehow feeling separate from it makes people seek this magic. But the seeking is the magic. It's all magic. It's all happening by itself, beautifully, spontaneously, naturally, self-arising and self-erasing. But it's true that it's all happening within this thing that I call my brain, and that our worlds can never touch. Only through this languaging does it seem like we can exist in this shared dream of separation. So only through the words, only through the songs, only within the singing does the song seem to reverberate, and you can feel the echoes in your chest, in your heart. And it's so beautiful. It's like we are each other's echoes. We are each other's reflections. There's no source to the echo, no original light. Yeah, it's all love, but there's no love, but it's all love.
Yeah, this speaking, I think this might actually be in a sense, one of the keys to the power of how you express. You can get closer to the truth by speaking in paradoxes. You can never get to it, but by acknowledging the opposites, like you say, you can't get this or not get this kind of thing. But that also, the beauty of that is when you combine that with a poetic free association, just like you're playing jazz or a guitar solo, it just, I don't know what it does, but I think this is why the people who resonate with the way you write is because it captures that in a way, in just the flowing of it, the artistic flowing of it.
I think that ambiguous words and phrases, especially used poetically somehow, can kind of skip the brain out of its usual grooves, habitual grooves, like a record, can kind of skip it out of its place, and leave the reader in a feeling of sensuous lostness, with nowhere for the mind could go, lead you down the gangplank, but you can't jump in and you can't go back. Of course, all the words are known, tree, sky. I use all my words are common. I don't use words that you have to look up in the dictionary. Some people do. So they're all common words, but everyone's take on any word or any imaginary thing is different for them. So my words are going to color their world differently than they emerged here. So the painting is different. And so, of course, a lot of things people will just put into the boxes of already known. That's what the mind does, the brain does. Tree, sky, that's the already known. But when sky falls through sky, or space falls through space, or light falls through light, then, that, where does that go? How does sky fall through sky? How does space fall through space? So that's like, there's no meaning to it. And it's, is it meaningless? I don't know. So there's no place to land. And it feels beautiful. I love reading my old stuff. I like what I write. I like it a lot. It doesn't really feel like I ever did it myself. It's just magic, like all of it. I would just say that this knowing feeling that life does itself is the magic. The feeling that it's edgeless and there's no one or thing pushing it or pulling it, seems magical. And by saying that, it evokes the seamless unicity of life too, by noting that we cannot find an edge. Maybe there is one. Right. We can't know. but just this feeling of spaciousness, of edgelessness, of a shoreless ocean without a surface or a bottom. You know, this shoreless, beautiful ocean of love. So that feeling of just like, this is what it's like. If I go like this, you know, I will say, oh, I'm moving my hand through space or something. But what it feels like is like a 3-dimensional light show. You know, no space, all space. There's no, it doesn't feel like separateness. It just feels like aliveness, fullness, no separate things, no time. So that's the feeling of it, just this fullness of utterly unbelievable, ungraspable, unknowable, super saturated spaciousness, aliveness, loveness. It is really, truly so beautiful. So it is a beautiful longing which creates the singing, I suppose. The longing to kiss what cannot be kissed. Yeah.
Why do you think this can't be given away? And what would you say to people that want what you're describing so badly, to see what you see and experience what you experience?
I would just tell them that I don't have this, so I can't give it to you. Yeah. And you already know this magic. It's trying to get it, to reach it, to hold it, to capture it, to gather it, that seems to prevent the recognition of it. Yeah.
Trying to get it, to capture it, seems to prevent the recognition of it.
Yeah. Because it's also trying to see it, to gather it, to capture it. That is it. And there is no it.
And would you say it's an unknowable mystery to try to say what it even is?
It's not an it. There are no its. And that's the magic. And there is no magic. And it's all magic.
You can't land anywhere.
No, there's no one to land. Mm-mm. And you know, I can walk along here, my big flat feet padding along the ground. But life is doing itself. It's obvious. There's no one holding this body up, you know. And life isn't happening to anyone. And no one ever did anything or nothing. So no, this isn't something that the self sees. The self is just as imaginary as tomorrow. That'd be like saying tomorrow we'll see this. You know, an idea can't recognize that it's an idea. You know, it's like the water in a mirage trying to recognize that it's a mirage. You know, that doesn't make any sense. So the unknowing, it's just obvious. It's just obvious that there are no things, and yet all and everything seem to appear simultaneously, inseparably. No one's separate from it, and no separate things. And yet, in the dream of separation, it's like a loving caress, like a delicate paintbrush, a butterfly kiss, as life paints itself, infinite, intimate, feels and looks like anything at all. And it is wondrous. And then there is the absolute wondrousness of knowing that it's wondrous. Wow. And that's because of imaginary separation. We can all agree that there's this aliveness, right? And then we could agree that there appears to be an awareness of this aliveness, right? And we can also agree that there is an awareness of this aliveness. So are there three things? Or is there one thing, or is there no thing? But we could probably agree that because of imaginary separation, this imaginary divide, there is a awareness of the awareness of this aliveness. And that's like a ricochet, infinite parentheses, like wings, flying, you know, two wings, so you don't fall this way or that way. But it's love soaring through love. And it's beautiful. And there can be great sorrow. I mean, there might be a lot of tears, but it's so beautiful that there's feeling. You know, it's so beautiful that you could feel so deeply, sob so deeply, love so deeply. How beautiful our humanness, you know. We share this humanness. You can see it in everyone's eyes. Everyone knows this great aloneness. Everyone knows the magic of aliveness. Everyone has loved and lost love. And how beautiful is that we share that? That just gives me goosebumps. Yeah.